This month we are highlighting positive MTSS co-teaching groups, and so we wanted to take a moment and stop over here at Blackberry Creek and work with two of our co-teaching members. We'll have them introduce themselves.
I'm Courtney Yeager. I'm the K1 MTSS teacher here.
I'm Stephanie Kenyon. I'm a first grade teacher at Blackberry Creek.
Perfect. So the first thing we're going to talk about are what strategies have you used with the two of you, as well as your other colleagues that couldn't be with us today, to really build a cohesive team?
Honestly, it's just building a relationship, both personally and professionally. Just knowing what's going on in each other's lives and just building that relationship and that trust and just having that vulnerability with one another with what's going on in our lives and just how that could impact us on the day-to-day and to be able to just work better cohesively.
Yeah, like Yeager said, when you really know each other down to the personal level and have that like friendship and relationship as well as the professional relationship, it helps build just that cohesiveness together, working together. It flows a little bit more naturally, and if you're having a rough day or something's off, your teammates are willing to just kind of work there with you. And like she said, being vulnerable, I came in from a different grade level. I really leaned on Yeager and Mrs. Zachman together as my co-teachers to help ease this transition, and I think that really helped build that relationship for me to vulnerably say like, hey, I need help. I'm going to need you guys a lot. Step in when you see fit, and just give them that option and that trust of, hey, take over my classroom when you need to, do what you need to do. We're a team together on this. Let's work together.
And even just like how welcoming you were into having us in your classroom, and like we walk in the room and it's just constantly like, oh, Miss Yeager, what do you think about this? Miss Yeager, what do you think about that? Or what would you do in this? So just constantly bringing us in no matter when we walk into the classroom.
I know my kids see them as equally parts of their teaching team, and they are not fazed when Miss Yeager and Miss Zachman come in. It is just so natural for them to just walk in, join in, and flow. It doesn't disrupt the learning process at all. Everything just flows because we built such a good relationship, and that just the foundation of it, starting from the first day of school, that Miss Zachman and Miss Yeager are also your teachers, and they're going to be in here and working with us. And so it also helps. It's made just having any other adults in the room when they come in. The students are so used to having so many different teachers coming in and out and working with them that it never feels weird when learning walks happen, or if any other adults are coming in. It's just all flows because of having so many teaching pairs and teams together, just working all together.
It just becomes part of the practice that you have within your classroom.
Yeah.
That's nice to see, because sometimes when you go on those learning walks, it's like a halt of learning, and everyone kind of looks and looks at the adult, and it's nice to be able to walk into the classrooms and see the students with that comfort level of there's just someone here to see what we're doing, and really have an understanding of how we all work together cohesively as a team. So you mentioned a little bit about communication, especially with students, of setting that practice of, these are just team members and they're an equal member that all of us can go to and have as a resource. How did you what strategies did you use in communication to really first establish that relationship, that foundation of understanding for students? Even now, when I'm sure you don't agree on every single thing ever, are there communication strategies that you have among your team that really help establish and maintain that relationship and trust?
Just being super flexible has been a huge piece of it, and knowing that they can't be everywhere all at once, and we need them, and we all need to work together as a team, both with kindergarten and first grade, to make sure that we are best utilizing Courtney and Kayla, so that all the students are getting reached and we're able to best utilize them where they're needed. So I think just being flexible all together, and not only just as first grade team, but with kindergarten too, and with Courtney and Kayla, just all being very open with the communication, not just in emails, not just saving it for KDABs or huddles, but just constantly throughout the day, checking in, touching base all the time.
Yeah, passing in the hallway, just having those little things like, hey, tomorrow, like we need to do this, or hey, can we meet then? And just, it's not always super formal. It's just sometimes it's like that informal, or at the end of a lesson as I'm getting ready to walk out, like that worked really well, let's do it again tomorrow, or we need to meet later to rethink what we're going to do tomorrow because this didn't go well. So just being able to like do it on the fly and very quick and natural.
Yeah. And the reflection piece of it too is like sometimes it's as natural as just like looking across over at each other like, this isn't working. We need to pivot. Which again
Yeah.
comes with that, just building that relationship, and being able to look across the room and know exactly what we're thinking,
Yeah.
and being on the same page.
Establishing and getting to that point to understand what each other is thinking. I think you really hit on a key point of that timeliness of that, on the spot interaction or in the hallway interaction, or making sure to set up that point for reflection rather than waiting for those established meetings like the huddles. And
Yeah.
you might forget the, half of the conversation if you're waiting that long. It kind of goes to the point, you guys kind of talked about it with that look across the room of we got to pivot. How do you make decisions on which co-teaching model makes the most sense when?
I think it totally will depend on the lesson, the students, the group of students. Like, are we flexibly grouping the students? Is it just the homeroom group of students? And just the activity. Like, does the activity call for a whole group and just team teaching, or does it go for, let's have a small group and a large group? Let's parallel teach? I think it really just depends on what activity we're doing.
And then also in the middle of the lesson, in the middle of the activity, we could be team teaching it together. And again, you look across the room, you're like, we need to break this down smaller. And so just being able to be flexible, again, just going to pivot into the different practices as we see fit, as needed. So I feel like we go into it with a plan of what co-teaching strategy we're going to use, and we don't always stick to that exact plan. We might switch it up, but I think that's also one of the great things about having so many different strategies, is being able to use them to the kids' needs and when you see fit.
Perfect. So you've mentioned some really key pieces to MTSS, that flexibility, that relationship, that timely communication. What are some final tips that you might want to, share with other teams that might not have established a level of co-teaching that you are experiencing yet? What are some tips that you want to offer to them to maybe get them to have that more solid co-teaching experience?
Probably just build those relationships and just invest in each other. I mean, be intentional. Like, I know earlier on this year, like at the end of the day, I'd come upstairs at the end of every day and just be like, how did it go today? Like, how can you use me? Like, where can I be used better tomorrow? And
be vulnerable and trust that, everyone has the student's best intentions in mind. I know the beginning of the year, I went up to Courtney and Kayla and I said, Courtney especially, I was like, you've been in first grade for years. You know this better than I do. I was in second grade. If I am teaching too high, if I need to slow it down, step in, take over, help me where you can. So just being able to be vulnerable with your teaching partners and you kind of step down and let them help, work together.
I love it. I love that vulnerability among the team, because it really does then, not only does it grow you as a professional, but it also might give you on the spot feedback to really reflect on your practices as well. Well, thank you guys very much. This is not easy to do with some cameras watching us. And so thank you very much for taking the time and answering questions. And truly, I hope what you guys have established here, others can reflect on and maybe use to really strengthen their co-teaching as well. So thank you.
Thank you.